Hi guys, do you know who has written Winnie the Pooh? Watch the complete video to find out. The first question is, which is the first poem in Ted Hughes' birthday letters? Your options are A. Valentine, B. Fulbright Scholars, C. Ariel, or D. The Blue Flannel Suit. Let's see the answer. It is B. Fulbright Scholars. With the majority of the poems in the collection being about Hughes' late wife Sylvia Plath, this poem fittingly comes first as it recollects the time Hughes first saw her. The poem describes how he saw a picture of the Fulbright scholars in the newspaper and he uses his memory along with hindsight to remember if he saw her in the photograph. The detailed description of her features suggests he would have remembered seeing her in the newspaper that day and highlights the affection he feels for her instantly at the beginning of their relationship. You can read the complete poem here by pausing the video. Moving on, the next question is, although the poet rejected the label British, he has always written in English rather than using any regional Irish dialect. Which poet is being talked about? A. Tony Harrison, B. Craig Raine, C. Seamus Heaney, or D. R.S. Thomas? Let's see the answer. It is C. Seamus Heaney. Which poet has written experimental concrete poetry? If you remember, in the last video we had talked about the found poetry that was written by Peter Reading. This question is asking about concrete poetry. Your options are A. C. H. Sisson, B. Edwin Morgan, C. Seamus Heaney, D. Charles Tomlinson. Let's check the answer. It is B. Edwin Morgan. Let's see what exactly is concrete poetry. It is an arrangement of linguistic elements in which the typographical effect is more important in conveying meaning than verbal significance. You can see the photographs I have attached with the explanation. It is sometimes referred to as visual poetry. Early religious examples of shaped poems in English include Easter Wings and The Altar in George Herbert's The Temple. Let's move on. Tony Harrison's The Gaze of the Gorgon, a long poem for television, was written in the wake of which war? A. World War II, B. American Civil War, C. World War I, or D. The Gulf War? The answer is D. Gulf War. In the late 1970s, who came to be known as the leader of the Martian school of poetry? A. Tony Harrison, B. U. A. Fenthorpe, C. Craig Raine, or D. Kieran Carson? The answer is C. Craig Raine. The three books of dazzling virtuosity, The Onion Memory, A Martian Sends a Postcard Home, and Rich, established Raine as the founder and most inventive exemplar of what came to be called the Martian School of Poetry. The defining characteristic of the school was a poetry rife with startling images, unexpected but audaciously apt similes, and rapid imaginative tricks of transformation that set the reader looking at the world afresh. In which of his poems, Ted Hughes retells the creation story from the point of view of a violent anarchic consciousness who emerges as a kind of antichrist? Your options are A. The Hawk Roosting, B. Jaguar, C. Wind, or D. Crow. All these poems are by Hughes. Let's see the answer. It is D. Crow. The complete title is From the Life and Songs of the Crow. It it was first published in 1970. The book is a collection of poems about the character Crow, which borrows extensively from many world mythologies, notably from trickster and Christian mythology. A central core group of poems in the work can be seen as an attack on Christianity. The first Crow poems were written in response to a request by American artist Leonard Baskin, who had at that time produced several pen and ink drawings of crows. The next question is, identify the poem and the poet. You can read the lines. Not a red, red rose or a satin heart, I gave you an onion. Your options are A. Valentine by Carol Ann Duffy, B. Safe as Houses by Ursula Fenthorpe, C. The Way We Live by Kathleen Jamie, or The World's Wife by Carol Ann Duffy. The answer is A. Valentine by Carol Ann Duffy. It was first published in Duffy's 1993 poetry collection Meantime. The speaker presents their lover with a valentine in the form of an onion, then explains the reasoning behind this unusual gift. In doing so, the speaker traditional idealized images of love and argues for more complete and honest portrayals of its effects. Like much of Duffy's work, this poem employs plain, straightforward language and uses the dramatic monologue mode to amplify a perspective that is usually sidelined from mainstream discourse. You can read the complete poem here. Moving on, which poet refused to be considered for the appointment as a poet laureate after the death of Ted Hughes, describing the role as rat catcher to our present queen? A. Carol Ann Duffy, B. Tony Harrison, C. Andrew Motion, or R. S. Thomas? The answer is B. Tony Harrison. A Kumquat for John Keats is a poem by A. Tony Harrison, B. Seamus Heaney, C. R. S. Thomas, or D. Stevie Smith? The answer is A. Tony Harrison. Who has written an experimental biography, Wainwright the Poisoner, examining a near forgotten figure from the early 19th century who was discussed by Oscar Wilde in his 1891 essay Pen, Pencil and Poison? Your options are A. Carol Ann Duffy, B. Simon Armitage, C. Andrew Motion, or D. J.K. The answer is C. Andrew Motion. He was appointed the Poet Laureate in 1999 after the death of Ted Hughes in 1998. Thomas Griffiths Wainwright was an English artist, author, and suspected serial killer. He gained reputation as a profligate and a dandy in 1837 as he was transported to the penal colony of Van Diemen's Land for frauds on the Bank of England. He attracted much attention as he is in Charles Dickens' story Hunted Down, Edward Bulwer Lytton's Lucretia, and Wainwright's biography, and also interested Oscar Wilde in Pen, Pencil, and Poison. Moving on, which poet in the following lines has contradicted T.S. Eliot's Burnt Norton? There is no present in Wales and no future. There is only the past. Your options are A. J.H. Bryan, B. R. S. Thomas, C. Basil Bunting, or D. Simon Armitage. The answer is B. R. S. Thomas. What does the letter V stands for in Tony Harrison's poem V? A. Verses, B. Victory, C. Verses, or D. All of the above? The answer is C. Verses. The letter V stands for verses, punning on verses and the traditional V for victory. It was written during the miners' strike of the mid-1980s. Which 20th century poet was attracted to the dark and surreal work of East European poets such as Vasco Popa and Miroslav Holub, and like them, he explored a post-Holocaust awareness of what it felt like to live in the spiritual chasm at the end of 20th century. Your options are A. Roger McGough, B. Dylan Thomas, C. Ted Hughes, or D. Seamus Heaney. The answer is C. Ted Hughes. Which of the following is a film poem by Simon Armitage? A. Xanadu, B. Zoom, C. Kid, or D. Cloud Cuckoo Land? The answer is A. Xanadu. Armitage's Xanadu is a film poem set in Lancashire, uses 26 alphabetically named blocks of flats being demolished as the background for his reflections on social deprivation. Simon Armitage has revoked which Greek dramatist's work in Mister Heracles? A. Sophocles, B. Euripides, C. Aeschylus, or D. Aristophanes? The answer is B. Euripides. Ben Okri's Booker Prize winning novel, The Famished Road, is set in which country? A. Guyana, B. Jamaica, C. Nigeria, or D. Birmingham? The answer is C. Nigeria. He was also born in Nigeria. The next question is, the following lines are from the poem As a African. Identify the poet. You can pause the video and read the lines. Your options are A. Chinua Achebe, B. Maya Angelou, C. Grace Nichols, D. Benjamin Zephaniah. The answer is D. Benjamin Zephaniah. Stalky and Co, a series of linked stories considered one of the classics of the school gang genre, is written by A. Rudyard Kipling, B. R.K. Narayan, C. Roald Dahl, or D. Richmal Crompton? The answer is A. Rudyard Kipling. The schoolboy hero William from Just William was created by A. Rudyard Kipling, B. R.K. Narayan, C. Roald Dahl, or D. Richmal Crompton? The answer is D. Richmal Crompton. It is a series of 39 books. The final question and also the answer I had asked in the beginning of this video. Winnie the Pooh was written by A. Enid Blyton, A. Milne, Kenneth Grahame, or D. al Dal? The answer is B. A. Milne. That is it for today. You can leave your doubts, comments, and suggestions in the comment section below. Till then, happy learning!